This video was brought to you in part by the supporters of the AMTV Patreon. Thank you. Hello everybody and welcome back to AMTV Radio. This is the podcast where I'm joined by a very special guest each time and we chat about whatever the hell we want to, quite frankly. And today I am joined by an artist, an illustrator. It's Mr. Lee Binding. How are you, sir?
Hello.
Hello.
I'm very well. Sort of having we're doing this on the bank holiday and it's feeling chill.
Yeah, it's nice. Here we are to chat about all sorts of things, but it's good, it's good. So, Lee, well, thank you for coming on the show. And before we really get into it, I'm sure a lot of listeners and viewers are aware of yourself and your work, but maybe for those smidgen who might not know who you are, do you just want to tell us a bit about yourself and what you do?
Do you know what? I think it's the majority of people don't know what I do. I'm one of those people that sort of, I've been in the background for about 20 years doing stuff. So I'm a graphic artist, and a digital painter, and I've sort of been working on Doctor Who or around Doctor Who ever since, well, I was Big Finish days, and then I got sort of involved in the series when it came back, and I've sort of like done various things around there. I've done products, I've done books, I've done websites, but mostly all under the brand of Doctor Who. Currently, I'm involved in the collections, and I'm the designer of those, and that's great fun. I'm really enjoying it.
It is, and for video people who are watching on YouTube, if you can see in the background of Lee's image there, you can see said collection sets on the bookcase.
My pride and joy.
Yes.
I could sell them all and buy a new house.
Oh my god, yeah. Oh, well, you could have sold that, what was it, the first one, season 12, before they reprinted
12.
it?
That was insane. It was crazy. It was sort of like, because we'd all sort of like been given a free one for working on it. It was like, what do we do? I would never take advantage of
Sure.
But all of a sudden, people wanted it in a way that was sort of like unnatural. So I was like, shall I just go and put this in a charity store somewhere and hope make someone's life or something? So yes, almost like a Willy. Not that I'm trying to big it up, but sort of like a Willy Wonka golden ticket. Just make someone so happy of finding these things.
No, honestly, as someone who didn't, I didn't have a Blu-ray player at the time, but as someone who didn't get season 12 that first time around, it was that sort of feverish, like, oh well, we've got to get it now because we've got the rest. But yeah, that was a crazy time. I remember going on eBay and seeing buy it nows for like £900, and it's just like, who's gonna? I'd like to think no one put that much money down, because if they did, when they're like, oh look, it's the second edition, they must have been like, oh, and the value plummets. But
yeah. I'm glad that we've now got standard editions as well, because the joyful thing about when these collections come out for me, I think, is everybody's getting to either watch it for the first time or just watch it all together.
Yes.
And it's that nice thing of sort of going, oh yeah, so the last one, was it season, I'm a little bit, I'm not quite sure which one's coming out now.
It's a 24 was the last released one, I think, yeah.
Right, okay, yes. So that lovely thing of, at the time, because I'm an old man, at the time, I remember it sort of like it coming out and everybody was sort of going, oh, okay, this is not what I was expecting. It's that sort of thing. But now everybody's getting a chance to sort of like reappraise it, and it's just under this banner of Classic Who. Then, and everybody watching at the same time, sort of everybody's noticing new things and bits and things are happening. And it's just, I think it's a wonderful thing for fandom to sort of like do and go, look, a gift, things. And I love the discourse of that. That is so wonderful. So yeah, I'm looking. It's one of my favorite things of every time a box set comes out is just like people reacting to it in a positive way, I think. So yeah.
Yeah, it's lovely. And I like to say season 24 in particular, because growing up I got into the show via New Who when I was a kid, but of course when you delve into Classic Who, season 24. In fact, in the late 2000s, I'd say the McCoy era as a whole, sadly, was sort of, from what I saw online, was like, oh, you don't need to bother with that. That's what killed the show in very inverted commas, etc. And but then when I saw it, and then on the Blu-ray, it's like, this season's really fun. Like, it's just a great time. Like, they're just having the time of their lives, and it's joyous. So yeah, it's great to see that reappraisal.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of fun in season 24 because I think there is a problem with Doctor Who fans in some respect where they sort of go, I want my sci-fi to be serious.
Sure, yeah.
And yet a lot of people love like the season 16, 17, where it's like Douglas Adams' script editor.
Yeah.
It becomes a lot more funny. So ostensibly, you've now got a Doctor who is a comedy character in the middle of a serious situation. So as a result, people were sort of like going, I don't get the beats of this. So so now I think people have gone back and gone, oh, I get it now. So
it's the
whether it was intentional or not.
Yes, exactly. Absolutely.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I love it.
Because as the time went on, I think, like as I say, when I first got into Classic Who, the general consensus, or the majority, I should say, seemed to be, oh, the McCoy years, full stop. You don't need to bother with that. Then it became, oh, season 25 and 26 are like the darker seasons, so like they're good. But it was still, season 24, you can skip that one. And then recently, as you say, in recent years, and thankfully with the collection, people have just gone, yeah, it's not like as serious necessarily, but it's just, if you just shut your brain off, get a bit of popcorn, snacks, whatever, it's a great time. Delta and the Bannermen, when I watched that recently, I had a great time.
It's got more bees in it. I love bees.
Absolutely. More bees and doo-wop tunes. Well, you couldn't ask for anything more, could you? So...
That's your Russell T Davies checklist for any new series. More bees,
and doo-wop.
More doo-wop.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But weirdly, I mean, with fandom, we've always had that kind of like, I'm going to say like an old sort of like, well, I haven't. We've always had that sort of like rote mentality of just... this Doctor is not as good as the latest one or the new or the old one or whatever. So when I was in fandom, it was sort of roughly around the time of McCoy, and Pertwee was like really reviled. It was like, you do not watch Pertwee. Yeah, nobody liked Pertwee.
Wow.
So it's sort of come. I know it was the oddest thing, and then all of a sudden you get a reappraisal of that, and now McCoy is getting a reappraisal, and that lovely thing of every time a Doctor goes. And it becomes their era becomes finite.
Yes,
I think people then sort of go, okay, I can take it apart now. I can look at it. I can look at the component bits and see what I like from it.
Yes,
and I think Capaldi's just going through that. There was a big one with Matt Smith when that happened because there was a lot of sort of like, because Tennant, everybody loved Tennant to lesser or more degree because and again it was sort of like that odd thing of classic people looking at Tennant and going, what is this show? But now then it was finite. Everybody sort of go, oh, I get it now. I love this. I love that moment. That kind of thing. So, sorry, I'm talking about fan brain.
No. It's one of the great things about Doctor Who, I think. Like, as you say, the constant reappraisal that different eras of the show. It gives them all a chance, I suppose, which is just what you want, I guess. But on yourself, Lee, then, as you say, you're an illustrator, you're an artist. What is that something you always like wanted to do, or was it one of those things you stumbled into by accident, or what got you into it, basically?
A complete accident. My entire life is an accident.
Oh no! Don't say that.
I found out. No, I shouldn't tell you this story, but this is the kind of level I operate at. So I found out that I was an accident from my mother a couple of years ago. When we're washing up and we're talking about the Beckhams, and the Beckhams children were sort of, she's going to kill me for telling this story.
Oh, no.
The Beckhams has just had their children. Apparently they're called Phoenix and Brooklyn, and apparently it's where they're conceived.
Oh, right.
And she looked at me and said, well, you'd be called Ford Cortina, wouldn't you? So we could shorten it down to Tina if you want, but I'm like, what? So
bombshell.
Yeah, exactly. So apparently I was an accident in the back of the car. Oh, anyway, so you can edit that out if you want to. I just adding it in. What was the question?
How'd you get into illustrating, basically?
How did I get into illustrating? I kind of did it for fun.
Yeah.
But my entire sort of like career, as in sort of like my school, my university, everything like that was saying, no, go do science, because I quite like science.
Yeah.
Go and do science. Go and have a career that you can sort of fall back on, and serious.
I know that speech all too well as an actor.
As an actor, yeah,
well,
exactly. Yes. I mean, I'm coming around to that in a moment. But,
yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So very much kind of like do the serious stuff, and then I did for a bit, and then I didn't enjoy it, and so I was still doing it in my spare time, and just making lots of pictures, and then I met Gary Russell, and he saw some of the stuff that I was doing, and he was just like, yeah, do you want to do some covers? I was like, yeah, sure. And it just sort of happened to be in the right place at the right time with a lot of people, so it's all good. I mean, how did it happen for you? I imagine you've always go on.
Well, no, it was weird, really. When I was really young, I was quite a shy child, and it wasn't until acting didn't really cross my mind much, like up until like 9, 10. And it was mainly, we were doing a school play. We were doing Christmas Carol, obviously, you know, a bunch of 10-year-olds. We're doing like a 15-minute version, basically, skipping over all the nuance and the thing. But they were like, oh, we want someone, obviously, to be Scrooge. And I think I'd seen a version of Christmas Carol on film before. So I was like, oh, I know what the Scrooge character's like. And I just overacted to hell, as you do as a 10-year-old. And they were like, yeah, I'll do it. He can shout the loudest. And it just sort of spawned from there, really. And yeah, as I got, did it at GCSE, did it at A-level. I was very fortunate to go to drama school in Liverpool, which was a great time. Wouldn't take that back for the world. And yeah, just sort of been muddling through ever since. Just a shame a recent pandemic's happened, because that sort of shut down everything. But, we move. But yeah, so I guess sort of an accident as well. Yeah, like if I hadn't put myself forward, I don't know why, I was shy. I don't know what spurred me to do it, but if I hadn't have done it, yeah, I might not have been an actor. I don't know what I would have been. I still would have been a nerd. Like, I think that was always ingrained deep down, but yeah.
Is it sort of, because my family are not nerds at all.
Oh, right.
Have you got nerds in family?
I'd say my dad's a bit of a nerd. I think he's of the generation where, like, he wouldn't necessarily admit it, but he enjoys his sci-fi and all that sort. It was actually him who got me into Doctor Who. Like a lot of people, I guess, of my generation, it was when the trailer came on. Do you want to come with me? Trip of a lifetime, all that. We were all watching the telly, and he said, "Oh, they're bringing back Doctor Who." Oh, because I was 9 at the time. He was like, "You'll like this." And sure enough, he was very much correct. So a decision with all the merchandisers of it's a decision he probably regrets. But we move. But yeah. But that's life, isn't it?
Yeah, a similar story with my mother. I mean, I think I watched it before because I definitely have a memory of Castrovalva happening. But she called me downstairs and said, "Doctor Who's on. You like this?" And I was like, "Do I?
Do I?" Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay, new information, but that's what parents are like at that age. It's sort of like it's mashed potato. You like this? I will eat the mashed potato. Good,
yes,
good.
Yeah.
So I went downstairs, and I think it was probably Kinder or something like that. And imagine a 6-year-old watching Kinder and just sort of going, okay, but did love it. And there was a lovely thing, and if you've got a comparable story, please share it.
Oh, sure.
When it was I think it was the fall. Hang on, season. Yeah, basically the start of the next season. Okay. No, season after. Season 22. 21. Sorry, is Warriors of the Deep, and in that the Doctor dies at the end of the part, and because I was so young, I was like, "Oh, he's dead." He's at the end of the show, and I didn't understand that it was. A serialized thing. And, my mother, I wasn't exactly unconsolable, but I was a little bit sort of like shocked that this thing that I'd liked for so long had just sort of like stopped like that. And my mother was like, "It'll be fine. It'll be on next week." And I'm like, "Are you sure? Okay.
Are you sure?" Combing through the Radio Times, like, is he on? Yeah. Is he on next week? Yeah.
I think I was just sort of like expecting it to be the Turlough and Tegan show, which I would be there for. I'd be there
for that as well. Could you imagine the bickering and the banter just between those two? It'd be immense. But,
I mean, Tegan can fly the TARDIS. It's fine.
I don't think I have a comparable story like that in terms of a cliffhanger basis, because of course I guess with New Who there's a lot less a lot less cliffhanger moments, of course. But I do remember when Father's Day aired, and like halfway in that the Doctor gets eaten by a Reaper for whatever reason. Until they solved it, I was like, oh my god, like how are they gonna fix it? Like, the Doctor's gone. Rose is just a 19-year-old girl. What's she gonna do? Do you know what I mean? It was that weird 9-year-old, like, as you say, that kid way of thinking, like, oh, well, the Doctor's dead. So now, like, are they gonna change the name of the show? But,
Rose Tyler,
Rose, yeah. But how did you find then, because that was season 21 you mentioned, so how did you find Regeneration then? Because I always find it interesting when you talk to people, like, when they watch the show as kids, like, the first time they saw the actor change from one to another.
I think I found out about it because it's a weird thing, and it's interesting to watch New Who people do it, because it was slowly drip fed for about 2-3 episodes, and then it finally just happened at the end of the first series, and it was explosive and amazing and just sort of so unexpected. It was wonderful. So I'm very interested to see what New Who people think about it, particularly when it sort of goes, because with the classic series, you kind of aware that people were prior to this.
Sure.
In all fairness, I mean, definitely my first Doctor is Peter Davison. So I would have seen the 5 Doctors. I knew the previous.
That's true. Yeah.
But I didn't understand the process. I just knew that there were other people, and I didn't know how, why, or what.
Like a James Bond thing where they just come in and leave. Yeah,
exactly. So I was reading, I think it was the Doctor Who Winter Special for like 1983 or something like that. And in the back, there's a picture of Colin Baker just going, and your new Doctor is, and I'm just like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
So I am not aware of this. So so that series, I think, no, it must have been like 81. Anyway, I'm really bad with dates.
It's all right. Don't worry.
Numbers. This is a problem, you see, because like half the brain is meant to be artistic, and the other one is numbers. And this bit is atrophied. I can't do my taxes. I have a man to do my taxes.
Oh man.
So yes. So when it finally happened, and I got to see it for the first time, it was incredibly sad.
Yeah.
And now I've watched it again. The whole thing could be completely avoided if Perry had not worn shorts. So.
Oh dear. Yeah. And
it's like, if she was wearing long trousers, that whole adventure would be absolutely fine. We'd still have the 5th Doctor. Not that I don't enjoy the 6th Doctor, but I'm just saying, shorts can be bad for you.
Yep, and she continues to wear short outfits for throughout season 22. Not necessarily by Nicola Bryant's choice, I'm sure.
Probably not, but is it just basically she wants to kill another one? Is it survivor's guilt? I do not know. We're going to have to get psychological on that one day.
Yes, yeah. No, it's with Regeneration, I guess, because obviously, as I say, for me, it was Chris Eccleston to David Tennant, and I don't know how I wasn't aware, because I know like they did like retrospectives on TV and in the radio, Radio Times, newspapers and stuff. I must have just avoided all that. So I go along my 13 weeks. I'm like, oh, this is the Doctor, as in the only Doctor. This is him, and then all of a sudden David Tennant appears, and I remember being like, who the hell's this? And my dad was like, oh, they've done this before. And I was like, excuse me? Like, they've done this before? And he was like, yeah, there's like 8 more of them. And I was like, no. So then straight onto the internet, dial up to the 56K modem or whatever, because we were a bit behind. And onto I think it was, the classic series had a website, didn't it? Like all to itself back then, I think. And it was that was a treasure trove, just like combing through and like learning about these. And I'm so glad I did. I think Classic Who nowadays is so perfect to get into when you are a kid, because I never thought about the production values, or do you know what I mean? It didn't matter as long as the stories, I guess, spark the imagination. I'm in. Do you know what I mean? Wobbly sets doesn't matter. Doesn't matter a damn bit. But
Absolutely.
I did want to talk to you about one project I know you worked on around that time, because funnily enough, it was so instrumental for me as a fan getting into Classic Who, and that was the Monsters and Villains book, which I believe you did the cover and the design for.
Yeah. I also did that website that you were just talking
Oh, no
about.
way.
Me and James Goss. Yeah.
I knew James had it. I didn't know you were part of it as well. That's ace.
Yeah, we sort of there was a wonderful sort of summer where we went down to Cardiff for series 2 because the budget for it was a lot bigger. Sorry, we'll move on to the book in a moment.
No, it's okay.
But just sort of like getting all the images coming in and sort of saying, oh, we want this and we want, Girl in the Fireplace, this is the vibe for it, and we want to do those pictures. So yeah, it was sort of like, it was lovely just sort of sitting in an office and you got to hear so much wonderful gossip. It was just
Will we ever hear about that one day? Not today, but do you think we'll ever hear about that one day?
I will tell you one thing, and that is I did see Stephen Fry's script in the office and what it was called, but I'm not going to say any more than that.
Nope, that's fine. That's fine.
So, Monsters and Villains.
Yes.
I think that's around on the pile somewhere. It's a lot of fun. It was, again, because I'd sort of like worked on a couple of other projects. My name was put forward. Clayton Hickman was originally meant to do it, but I think he was editing DWM at the same time, so it was like he's way too busy. Bless him.
Yeah.
So I got the original spread design that he did and the concept of it, and then just sort of like ran with it. So I did the cover, and it was so nice getting those pictures of the Dalek coming in. Just like, you couldn't imagine all the stuff for End of the World, which I hadn't seen, and just like, what the hell is this? So
what's going on? Yeah.
So it was such a good time.
It's just, I don't want to like make it sound like, but it is. I think I see a lot of fans of like my generation, books like that were so, like, for a lot of people, that was their first time even learning about the classic series, full stop, because I think a lot of other tie-in media that followed was understandably, specifically about the current series, hyping it up, whatever it is. But that was the first real book I remember that sort of said, oh no, but look, there is all this as well. Mm-hmm. And it was done in such an interesting way. Because do you think there was ever that sort of, I don't know, do you think there was ever a sort of fear amongst the BBC or various departments that, the current, viewers aren't necessarily going to be interested in this stuff? Or...
I think every now and again there is that sort of like, we should concentrate more on the new series.
Sure.
But it was just a great opportunity to go, look, there's Daleks in this. This is what the Daleks have been up to beforehand. Little buggers.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'd only got like 6 episodes worth of stuff, because every time one of those books, we did one for every year. We more or less started it, or pretty much finished it around the time that episode 6 was in the can, depending on what the production schedule was.
Yeah.
So at that point there was a limited amount of Doctor Who for us to deal with. We had like 6 episodes, which is why, it doesn't go past Dalek.
Yes.
And then it picks up with the next one, Aliens and Villains, or whatever it is. Aliens and Monsters. I don't know. And so that picks up the back end of season 1 and the beginning of season 2. So having that sort of finite excitement of going, we've got this much, we might as well just sort of like do the rest of the series. And there was never a point, I don't think, with Russell where it went, we don't have a legacy. This show is not a standalone thing. It's always been an extension of what goes on in the past.
Absolutely.
And he's so canny of him. So yeah.
Oh well, no, I just wanted to bring it up just to again say like how important that book was, not just to me but a lot of fans as well. And I think the way it was designed as well, like just with the as you say, the photos, the descriptions, the synopsis of the story. Although a funny anecdote I have with the book is, obviously with New Who, I just knew Doctor Who episodes as being 45 minutes. So when I read that the Daleks' master plan was 12 episodes long, I was like, wow. I was like, there's lots of Daleks' master plan. And then I think when I first watched Classic Who, my first Classic Who was the 3 Doctors. And I remembered the part 1 cliffhanger, and I was like, that 45 minutes went by really quickly. And then I checked the like DVD count, and I was like, what do you mean it's 25? Like, it was just, I don't know why, my little mind couldn't comprehend it. So
Oh, bless you.
Could you imagine if Dalek's Master Plan had been 12 45-minute episodes?
Sometimes it feels like no. It's no. I really love the Hartnell era. There's a lot of things where someone will say, "What's your favorite Doctor?" And it's like, I don't have a favorite Doctor. I have a favorite Doctor for each mood, and just when you're feeling that kind of longing for adventure, the original series, the original Doctor, First Doctor. Can we call it First Doctor now? I'm not sure what the numbering goes anymore. So
I keep it simple. It keeps it simple.
Yeah. So First Doctor. I love the kind of ambition of it all, where they'll just sort of go, yeah, we're gonna do this cutaway to a small set in your thing where it's like, oh, we're on a ship now, and the chase. Absolutely love the chase, where they just so for week upon week upon week just go for new things, and it's just the money is tiny, but the ambition is huge, and just that adventure is so wonderful. So I've sidetracked again.
I'm all for tangents on this show. You tangent all you want. It is not a problem. But I get what you mean, though. The longer ones of the classic series, like especially the Hartnell and Troughton ones, I just find a lot of them to me are like comfort food sort of episodes. I can sort of stick them on. I don't always have to give them like full focus. I can do other things, but they're just things like the invasion. It's great. I can just breeze through the invasion, and that's a great time. So even if they're just going to and from IE, but still,
I love the cyber controller in that because he's sort of like and then you got his thing. It just goes, no, you can't. Can't what?
Can't what?
So love it.
So those lovely classic Who bits, isn't it? You're like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, just one of my favorite things ever is just the War Machines, and just everything in that is so wonderful, and yet backwards. Like you've got tramps taking taxis. You've got these incredible devices of destruction just hitting boxes just because they don't like them. It's like there's a nightclub where you can use the telephone. It's that quiet. It's like I love the War Machines.
I love that clip on on Blue Peter when they're showing off the War Machines, and when it's like, oh, we've got one in the studio that's going to move right now, and you hear the poor floor manager go, right, go in the background. It makes me chuckle because I don't know if he didn't know he could be heard, but you can just hear him, and then the machine, as you say, just knocks down some boxes, and those poor Blue Peter presenters are like, "Wow, look at the strength of that! He knocked down some empty cardboard boxes." As you say, it's wonderful though. As you say, it's just it's so balmy, but it's wonderful. But that's Doctor Who's charm, isn't it? It's so often very balmy, but we love it. We love it anyway. Oh my! So you did, as you say, you've done like the books, but you also tackled a lot of the classic Who DVDs. Eventually, because I believe Clayton was the original principal designer, and then you became the principal designer after a time. So was there ever a set criteria of what to include with each release, or were you guys as the artists just sort of said, "Here's the story we want you to do, go and give us something"?
So. With those, I think the wonderful thing after a certain time of doing this job is people just trust you, which is scary, but also it's really nice. Yeah. So, particularly with the collections as well, it's like with the template was sort of started with the DVDs, where you get a disc of pictures and just told to do something. Okay. Often the quality of the pictures, they're 50-year-old, sort of shot through a sock, like backlit, grainy as hell. And that's even like the modern stuff. Bear in mind all the black and white stuff there's some really nice stuff when they get the Radio Times on set, but most of the time it's just diabolical. So you'd often just do the best you could with what you could.
Sure.
So you get sort of odd bits of feedback from the BBC. I think my favorite one was for the 10th Planet, where they said it looks a little sparse, can you put some trees in the background? And I'm just like, at the North Pole. So
Oh, so have you?
Okay.
So whoever sent that memo, had they seen the 10th planet? Perhaps.
I don't think so.
No.
Maybe they were just watching 10th Planet episode 4 over and over again in some office somewhere. I do not know. Yeah, so being trusted with this kind of thing is actually really, really nice. So yeah, and again with the collection as well, I just they say which one's coming next. It's normally in a Facebook chat. Which
I love that. That's just so casual. Yeah, we're doing this now.
Yeah, can you just do that? It's with one of the lovely people who's he doesn't do any kind of like stuff like this.
Sure.
His name is Russell Minton. He's an absolute god. He's lovely and creative, and he's the one with a lot of sort of like drive for the new stuff that goes on there. He's responsible for behind the sofas.
The
odd little things like the cookery.
I love the cookery special.
Exactly. That kind of thing. It's sort of like he's there commissioning it and sort of going, yay, let's do this kind of stuff. So he is so good at sort of recognizing people to do various things. And, we've got so many lovely people working on these things that he trusted me to do the pictures, and he's just the same every time. He's like, just here's the number, off you go. And then 3 months later, I deliver, at least about 20, 30 pieces of artwork.
Oh, really? It's that many?
Yeah.
Like, oh, blimey.
Because you've got your disc arts, you've got to do your episode stuff in the booklets. Yeah. You've got to do the front, the back, all the various, the booklet cover.
Yeah.
And it's just all combined together.
Sorry, I thought you meant 20 pieces of artwork just for the front cover. I was like, bloody hell. Like, that's a tall order, isn't it? But no, what you said makes a lot more sense. But that's great. I love that. I mean, I can just imagine you get a ping on your phone and it's nothing else, just a number. That's it.
Yeah.
From Russell. Yeah. Just a number, and you're like, right, I know this.
Off I go.
No, that's
exactly.
Lovely. I mean, out of all of the, I guess we'll just say DVDs for now, but out of because I guess with the individual stories, there's different artwork for each back then. Do you have a personal favorite one you did?
I think I like the Inferno special edition because it was experimental for me.
Yeah.
In the way that I'd sort of laid it out, but also in the way that I just started learning to sort of paint over the top of photos, which is what I do with all my stuff now. And that was the moment where I went, oh, I get this.
Yeah.
So from that point on, it sort of like invoked a style, if that makes sense.
Sure. Great story as well. I love Inferno.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Season 7 on the whole is just, chef's kiss, like 10 out of 10.
Do you know what? I've never watched Ambassadors of Death all the way through, and I need to do
Lee.
that. I know. It's just, the nice thing about not of being a Who fan is if you've completed the canon, where do you go next?
True.
I kind of like the idea that there's sort of like episodes still floating around, and I will watch them, before we do a box set. But until that point,
until that day,
yeah. Yes.
I just think those season 7 ones, like a lot of them, well, I know originally, I guess a lot of UK viewers saw it in black and white because there weren't that many colour TVs going about. But I don't know why I did this. I decided to get certain Doctor Who's on VHS. I think more for the novelty than anything else. I know.
Okay.
I know. Bizarre. Well, a lot of the artwork on those is cool too, on those old VHSs, to be fair. But the Ambassadors of Death one, that was when they didn't have the tech to like make it fully colorized, so about half of it's in black and white, and I went into it thinking, this will be a bit odd, but you know what, the Ambassadors of Death in black and white is pretty bloody good. It's just very more atmospheric than the normal. So, and it's great that we have a full color version, like props to the guys at the team who did that, but I don't know, there's just something about it in black and white. It's very chilling. So
okay.
Yeah,
I might give it a go.
Yeah, good job. Maybe watch it in colour first before you do the artwork and stuff. But you just
get it all completely wrong.
Yeah, for a season 7 one, you just submit an entirely monochrome, and they're like, "What's this?"
Amazing.
Oh dear, that could be alternative art for a special release.
So, is actually a question for you then?
No,
Is there a season that you're not avoiding, but is there one that you sort of like you haven't gone towards yet?
Well, I've because I'm somewhat obsessive. I have managed to make my way through every story in Classic Who and Modern Who, so I've technically seen everything there is to see, obviously barring missing episodes and stuff. It took me a bloody long time, but I got there. I'd say the one I was maybe least looking forward to. This might be. I know this is controversial to a lot of people. The Tom Baker years, right? You know, I love him. Tom Baker. You know, you're probably not listening, but I love you, man. We all do. You're great. And you know, but obviously, again, when you're a young fan going into Classic Who, you know, Tom Baker carried this, you know, presence to him. You know, Tom Baker, the best Doctor. You know, best thing ever. 7 years, all of it's great. You have all that coming at you. So when you go into it, well, as you know, as a kid, you think, oh right, so what I'm about to watch is going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. And arguably, in my humble opinion, not all of it is. Season 15 was one I was a bit like, so like, not Horror of Fang Rock I really enjoyed, but things like The Invisible Enemy, Underworld, The Sunmakers. I'm sure like people who love them, great, more power to you, but for whatever reason, I remember not being too excited, and I wasn't that like enamored after I'd watched it, if that makes sense. Tom Baker's great, you know, and there's loads of great stories in that era that I love. But yeah, that was probably the one I was a bit like, okay, I guess I have to watch this now because I've seen everything else. But yeah, yeah.
I get a similar sort of thing in the sense of with that series.
Yeah,
I really got into Doctor Who via K9. I just love K9.
Sure.
It's just like, it's a ridiculous robot dog, and therefore, you know, I really like robots as well. It's a thing in my life. So what I would do is read all the novelizations with K9 in. Hence why I've not really sort of like done the novelization of Warriors Gate, because you know, he's barely in that kind of thing, you know, or Destiny of the Daleks. But when you've got those incredible novelizations which take you to imaginative places, and then you see the final thing on screen, you're like, okay, I get. So, you know, watching The Invisible Enemy, which is an incredible novelization, and then going to the actual thing. I mean, there's some nice bits in there, but yeah, I get you.
Yeah, and it's like, with the best will in the world, Underworld, I watched it and I was like, well, they tried. You know, there was in the nicest will in the world, because I do get, like, I know industrial action was going on and budgets were tight. Oh, and Star Wars is out, so we've got to be like Star Wars. So I do understand, I guess, why they went down that route. It's just a shame it doesn't.
You
know, we all. If you know Underworld, folks, you know what I'm talking about. But
and do you know what? I've got a lot of love for Invasion of Time, but there are bits so you just want to chop out and go, look, stop running around a factory. God love you. This could be a part cheaper, and you could get a lot more money in it.
I do have a soft spot for the Invasion of Time, but I don't know why. I haven't got a feasible reason. I just really like it, and I don't know why.
So what's your sort of fandom thing then? I suppose it's like, you know, some people, for me, it's like getting into the design of the show, and some people are just like really into the music. Yeah. Is there a thing for you where you just sort of go, this is what I'm about? Is it like Time Lord lore? Or is it like,
for me, it's a bit more like, it's viewing figures, funnily enough, like facts and figures. I guess my other big thing as a kid, I just loved numbers. Like, don't know where it came from, but
do you want to do my taxes?
I was about to
doesn't
say,
work.
Not that good. I'm an actor, darling. What's tax? But tax people, I do pay my taxes. Please don't come after me. No, I loved maths up until a point. Like when it got to GCSE A-level type maths, that was, for whatever reason, that was just like a cut off. I didn't like things like trigonometry and that. I couldn't do that at all. But mental maths, like, you know, quick multiplication, that sort of stuff, loved it. So then when Doctor Who came around and it's like, oh, the viewing figures, I'm like, what numbers? This is a thing. And again, then Classic Who. But I find it so fascinating, and I do a series on my channel, which is they're like mini documentaries about the history of Doctor Who viewing figures, and I try and make it more than just, here is a story, here is what it got. This is good, this is bad. Like I try and. I'd like to think it's a bit more than that, and some people have been very nice and said they find it very enjoyable. But yeah, I guess that's sort of my personal niche into the. Besides enjoying it on the whole, I just love analysing the facts and figures, like what made it. Destiny of the Daleks got 13.5 million. How did it do that? ITV's off the air, and because I guess history is another passion. So learning about why something was the way it was, like why did it get good figures, why did it get bad figures? That's kind of my thing. So a niche of a niche. So
I like it, and I love how Doctor Who fandom sort of like encourages that for each one. Someone will be over there just going, "Oh, I'm going to recreate all of Murray Gold's stuff on a cello," and you go, "That's brilliant, well done, you guys do that."
Yeah.
And then cosplay. Oh my god, I love cosplay. I
Yeah.
wish I had the gall to do cosplay, but just like the level of detail and the level of attention to everything and just wanting everything to be screen accurate is so thrilling to me. Just the idea that you're going to do that, if it makes sense. It's like I have no interest in doing it, but you guys run with that and you have a great time. So so
I've only done it once or twice, but it was on a very teenager limited budget. So I borrowed my mate's tweed jacket, borrowed my dad's bow tie, things like very DIY sort of thing, not screen accurate. But I guess for me, like those who I have massive respect for those who go for, as you say, like the screen accurate stuff. But for me, like I'm more than happy just cobbling a few bits together to make it look something like. Because I've got a Jodie Whittaker outfit that is in no way like it's not an official replica or anything like that. I got it off Facebook Marketplace for someone who was selling it for £10, and it might feel a bit cheap, but it's it does the part, and it's great. Yeah. So it's great.
I like the way that I think people feel when doing this kind of thing, because there's an idea of the Doctor.
Yes.
That people can sort of like, there's an essence that people can sort of go through every single one and sort of take away from it and just go, I will embody that certain element of it. And when you've got that, and if you can pretend to be that person, it's so empowering. So
it is.
Yeah.
It is incredible.
So I've got a leather jacket which kind of looks like the War Doctor, and clearly grey hair, grey beard. I could just about pull it off, I think.
Yes.
And accidentally, because I was a goth kid at uni, I've got the boots as well from like 25 years ago. So
Lee, this is the stars telling you something here. It's all aligning, So
I reckon you do a really decent David Tennant.
Oh, bless you! Dye my hair brown, So
yeah, why were you doing Matt Smith? You could be Tennant. It's such a good Tennant.
I probably couldn't find a pinstripe suit. That would have been the killer for me. No, but the only problem with I've worn my hair up like this for years. Audio listeners, well, if you know my channel, you know what I look like, but you should head on over to YouTube for this bit. But I've had my hair like this for years, and at the time, because like this was back when Jedward were a thing. You always go, oh look, it's the third twin. But we've entered this lovely grace period now where the current young generation don't know who Jedward are. So it's like, oh, your hair's really cool. I'm like, yes, more of this. None of the slander. But now I've just said that, so now you're all going to type Jedward in the comments probably. So I brought that on myself. Never mind. But one thing I wanted to ask as well was I guess when you say designing for like the Blu-ray sets, I guess it's a very different process to how you did the DVDs, because obviously for those it was like on an individual story basis, whereas now you've got to sort of somehow, I don't know how you do it, collage 4, 5, 6, 7 stories into one frontal. Like, was that when you first got involved with this, was that like oh god, like this is a big challenge? Like how do you do it, I guess? Like how do you combat each season?
The way that I do it primarily is don't stop and start.
Right. I thought you were just going to say don't. If you
want to do it.
Don't. Yeah, just don't. Just say no. Say no.
Yeah. If I get pushed under a bus, just say don't do it, because it takes up your life. With it, just never stop. So if like I'm delivering one, then I'm working on 3 others at the same time, because the idea now of just after a break coming in and doing it, it's so terrifying. And it's such a big thing. So how do I get with it? So normally with each Doctor, and I've got a spreadsheet somewhere with every Doctor variation, costume and whatever that I want, and what I want them to be holding on the cover. And when you get the images, that sometimes works, sometimes it doesn't. And I basically want that shot. I want the shot of them looking out at you, being the hero that they are.
Buy me now.
Yes. Yeah. This is a great season. You're going to find some new things on here. All this kind of stuff. You know, you find that shot, and if you can't find it, you make it. And if you can't make it, fuck. That's my one swear. So I mean, touch wood, I have been lucky so far in every single one that I've done, and there's stuff that I've got in the background that nobody's seen yet. I've got about 15 done.
Oh, blimey.
So I mean, front covers, and again, touch wood, they're all pretty much looking out, doing the thing. So yay,
doing the thing.
Yeah. So when it came to that, when we were originally designing them, I had a sort of brief saying, this is kind of like the thing that we got. And they gave me a mood board of various sort of like things that were selling well at the time. It was like things like the Rogue One poster and stuff like that. And it was like, can you do something like that, but for Doctor Who?
Oh, I guess that makes sense. Because Rogue One, you've got the main... is it Jyn Erso's like the main face, and then you've got all the squad below, haven't you, or something like that?
Yes. Yeah. So when I was making season 12, because I did 12 and 19 at the same time, so when we sort of like 12 was pushed ahead a little further, and 19 was sort of like being done, but sort of like slightly behind. So once I got the cover for that sorted and went, okay, this is what I'm thinking. We went through about 3 or 4 different sort of versions of that. You can find them on my Twitter, going back a while ago. Once we've got that bolted down, I will do 19. But also, we didn't know whether it was going to work or not. So if you have a look at the booklet cover, the booklet cover could have been the box cover. It's the idea that we were just sort of like edging our bets.
Sure.
The booklet cover has always been the idea of that is like, this is the iconic picture that they never took at the time.
Yeah.
We've got to, this is what they would have used to publicize the series if they had the time, the budget, the stuff that we've got now.
Yeah.
And again, that could have been on the cover if that was rejected and if it wasn't selling well, if it wasn't polling well in the BBC, because this was a huge project. This was money was going into this that people were quite uncomfortable about.
Oh dear.
So it's like, So if it hadn't have worked, a lot of people would sort of like, you know what I mean. So I was sort of like making lots of artwork in the background that sort of went, okay, we could do this, we could do this, we could do this. And eventually it just all came together into this one package. That unfortunately meant that I'd done all this artwork and then had to replicate it again for like season 19. It was like, oh, bugger, I've done this amount here. I've now got to do it all again for this. And it just keeps going. So when it comes to getting a new one, when I get my Facebook message saying, ding, you're doing this, it's like, okay, right, let's have a look at the pictures. And you sort of divide it down. You look for that shot of the Doctor being the hero. You then start thinking, what does this series mean to me? What is the moment of this show of this season itself that makes me go, this is the best season. This is what makes me watch this. And that then becomes the booklet cover. So I think one that really worked for me, I think, and I hate blowing my own trumpet, but the moment I went, oh, right, okay, is when we did the season 23 Trial of a Time Lord, and you got the Doctor standing in the dock with Perry on the screen as the bald-headed version of her, and just like with a Valiant pointing at him. It's like we've got an opportunity to tell a bit of the story that nobody else sort of like crystallized at that point in a photograph. So that's where I go with those kind of things. So once you've got that sorted, then you start doing all the booklet. So you basically, and I'm in the stage now with the one that I'm working on, is you go through drives of photos and start categorizing them and going, I want that on the cover, I want that as a booklet, I want that as the disc art, I want that as. It's really time consuming. It takes about 2-3 days, but once you get at the end of it, it's like, there we go, box
That's it, done. Yeah,
yeah, done. Cut, print, send.
No, it's ace. I mean, I'm sure you've had lots of positive comments on social media. Like, people, I think, unequivocally have loved the style and the design of the sets as they've gone on. Because, like you say, I think you put it really well. Like you say, like with the booklet and even the front, it's like the front saying, here's what we've got on offer, and the booklet's like, and this is why you want to watch this season. It's a great idea to go with it. And I just I don't envy you when you, I mean, a touch wood, when you guys eventually, hopefully, get to some 60s stuff. I don't envy you trolling through the yellowed photos and the photos that aren't lit properly. And yeah, I don't envy you there, but I'm sure
that's going to be fun.
Yeah, he says
I mean, clearly,
teeth. He's like, that's
I've started on a couple just because,
yeah.
And it seems to be going okay. But it's like. We'll see. It's always best to be prepared.
Of course, always best to be prepared. Best advice I was ever given. Be prepared. Scouts honour, full shebang. But as we've said so far, so you've done like websites, books, DVDs, Blu-rays. Some people may know, but some people may not know. You also did a fair bit of work. Illustration work for the TV show itself. Was that like, it was around series 7, series 8, I believe, like with the movie poster sort of thing?
Yeah, I sort of got involved around series 3 and the some of the backgrounds that were used in the posters for Martha and the Doctor. I sort of helped out with those. So I was always kind of around.
Yeah. He was always there.
I was always there. No more. And then series 4, I started doing the style guide stuff, which is something that I think I've got one around here somewhere. It's a season 2 one. So yeah, these things were sort of like handed out to every licensor. Anyone who sort of like goes, I want to start doing Doctor Who stuff.
Yes,
you'll give them one of these things, and in here are sort of like little. I didn't do these, but they're cards and like all the cutouts for the Cybermen and stuff like that. Oh, nice!
Yeah.
Ended up on packaging and things like that. So I would end up supplying artwork to go into that. And by season 4, I was sort of like doing all the cutouts for it. And then season 5, again, style guide. Season 6, halfway through season 6, BBC itself ran out of money to do publicity stuff for it.
Excellent.
Because they had it was sort of like, okay, we've publicized the first half of the series.
Sure.
Series 2, as in 6B, it's coming back, but we don't have.
But we've got to prepare for the Olympics next year. So.
I think. Do you know what? I genuinely think it was Strictly Come Dancing took all the designers off them because they had to airbrush every single member. So it was all of a sudden the BBC itself was sort of like, oh yeah, sorry, we can't do that. So I was again working on the style guide, and they said, can you do a picture that would be sort of like sum this half of the series up, which we then sort of use. So I did a picture which was sort of River, the Doctor, Amy, and Rory standing in front of a pyramid. Yes. And he's got his green coat on.
Yep.
I think it ended up as the soundtrack cover. So
I know the one you mean. Yeah.
So from there, I was then doing all the episodic pictures beyond that. So yeah, it's sort of like, again, all this stuff in the background. And then finally they said, okay, season 7, we're going to do this properly. And God bless them. They went, what do you need? What are we going to do? And we went through it all and went, okay, stuff like Journey to the Center of the TARDIS. Can you have Matt in a load of different poses? We're going to have him leaping around a broken TARDIS. Jenna and Matt for the Ice Warriors episode. Can you just make them wet? And they did. I was giving this ludicrous list of things that they were doing. Put them on a motorbike. Do this. And they did, and I got all these pictures, and we just went, okay, because Caro Skinner, who was the producer at that point, had such a clever brain for this kind of stuff. She went, okay, we're not treating these as episodes. These are movies of the week. We are coming in, we are telling a bespoke story that links together in a big narrative. We're going to publicize them as movies. And you're like, okay. So hence why there was that sort of like movie style kind of thing going on around it. And it was like, this works. I like this. So so from that point on, that was part of the thing until Day of the Doctor.
I think that was a great.
Oh, we did Time of the Doctor as well. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I just think it was a great idea because I'll never forget seeing the one for Asylum of the Daleks, the opener. Where it's the Doctor carrying Amy, surrounded by all those like that's an image that that sticks with you. That's a classic poster of like this. Look, this is one to watch, and I just think, as you say, it's a great thing that I think a lot of people don't realize how important things like posters can be in hooking people in. But yeah, I was going to watch it anyway, but I'd like to think if I showed it to people who are maybe, they watch Doctor Who every now and then, but they don't watch every week. You show them that and they'll go, oh, I need to see. Do you know what I mean? That's how it came across to me anyway. That was like a good angle for it anyway.
Yeah, and if you guys there, I'm going to do a bit of social media. If you head to my Instagram, there is there's a video on there that it shows how I created that poster. And Matt Smith was carrying Karen Gillan for that entire photo shoot. I've got about 20 pictures of them, just sort of like manhandling her in various poses. So there you go.
There you go. Head over to Lee's Instagram where you can find that and lots of other lovely stuff as well. So we've talked a lot about Doctor Who, but I believe you have also done work on other franchises, I believe, over the years. Do you want to just sort of spitball some of those, like other favourite things you've done over the years?
Sure. A recent thing I did, which has just got cancelled, was Intergalactic for Sky. Basically, they were like, oh yeah, do you want to do space stuff? And I go, yes, please. I like space stuff. So I did that. I've done Star Wars stuff for SFX magazine. I did, what else did I do for them? There was a really nice cover I did for them. I've forgotten. This is the awful thing. When I go back and I start sort of, because every Thursday I try and put something new up on Instagram.
Sure.
And kind of like, oh, hey, I did this. And going through my hard drives for stuff and going, I forgot I did that. So, and then weirdly, people will comment on it and go, I didn't know you did this. And I'm sort of like, yeah, neither did I. I'd forgotten. So yeah. I was looking, this is weird just going through my own shelves, but I totally forgot I'd done this.
Oh, yes. Time Lord
Victorious DVD when I was sort of like, I was tidying my shelves this weekend. I was sticking a load of stuff on eBay. My partner, he's obsessed with just eBaying stuff. So, and you can always tell which season is coming next because on the collections, because the local charity store down the road, they get all the DVDs because I'm done with them. So
no, I've done the same, but mainly as a space thing more than anything. I think at first I was like, oh, I can have my lovely uniform DVDs and I'll have the collection sets, but then it was just like, no, this is a bit ridiculous now. I haven't got the space.
Says the man who's just got VHSs. What the hell is going on there?
It's only a select few. I haven't got a full Could you imagine? I'll swap the DVDs, but now I'm going to get a full VHS collection. So, do you know what? Just on VHS for a minute, it's so funny how people sometimes you go online how they price it, because like VHS is a format. We all loved it at the time. It was great, but a lot of those VHSs don't really have that much like value anymore. But I've seen like on eBay and Facebook Marketplace, over 100 Doctor Who videos, £300, and I'm like, no, who's gonna do this? Who's gonna?
Are you paying me?
Yeah, it's just I don't know. It's a
removal fee.
But then you see like another one where it's like, I've got like 50 of them. Just give me a tenner, and I'm like, well, yeah, because it's not many people want VHS, but I don't get that. Like, it's 100 tapes, £300. It's like, no.
It's a buyer's market.
It's a buyer's market. Yeah. No, but on expensive.
Back to the previous question. Sorry.
No, go for it.
I genuinely can't remember.
Well, you were just saying about other things you've worked on.
Yes, and again, I genuinely can't remember. So if there's anything that you can sort of remind me of, I'll sort of go, yeah, I did that. But otherwise, don't worry about it.
That's all right. Well, I had a quick peruse of like your website, and you've got a page on like TARDIS Wiki and things like that, and it mentioned you've worked on. Well, you do, yeah. You've got the prestigious.
I've made it
of being on a fan wiki.
Do you have one?
I don't know.
Oh.
I haven't yet.
I'm going to write you one later.
Oh, but, bless man. But no, I haven't reached that peak yet. But yeah, it just said you've done. I'm trying to remember ones off the top of my head. Like it said you've done some stuff for like Top Gear and. That's what it said. Again, fan edited website might be completely rubbish, but
yeah, because you kind of get sort of tied into various companies. Because believe it or not, Doctor Who is not my day job. Doctor Who.
That's valid.
Yes, it's a lot of Doctor Who is done at mates rates because we all just want to work on it.
Absolutely.
So doing covers for it is not a career. So yeah, I mean, lovely Chris Thompson, who I think you had on earlier. He does all the stuff for Newsround and things like that. And yeah, Russell Minton's day job is he is in charge of going around the world looking at all the different versions of Great British Bake Off and making sure that they adhere to guidelines.
Oh, but that's a lovely job.
It's a great job. He showed me the Swedish one the other day, and I'm like, I love that kitchen. I want that kitchen. So, so my day job is working for Sky,
nice.
And I sort of get roped into their things and doing all the sort of like, when you turn on your box or whatever you've got that you watch it on, and those pictures come up. It's like, oh yeah, I did that.
So see, it's the little things, but that makes sense though, because I just had a quick peruse there, and one of the things it says that you did some work on was I Hate Susie, which is a Sky program, I believe. So
yes,
that makes sense. Yeah.
Yes,
great show as well.
Brilliant.
Yeah, show.
Absolute talent that Billy is, and she made this sort of very early on decision that the character is as raw as possible. So normally what you get are these incredible sort of, we spent 2 days photographing her, and she was just astonishing. She was acting in front of the camera, and sometimes you get that, sometimes you don't. There is an actor I will not name who was basically just sort of like, yeah, you got 3 expressions, then I'm off to my trailer. And it's like, okay.
Classic diva.
Yeah, exactly. So Billy Warehouse, 2 days, just going through every emotion that we wanted her to go through. And at the end of it, she just went, yeah, I don't want any retouching on this. I want it to be as raw as possible. And it's like, okay. So that was an incredible brave. That sounds like it's like, I don't want to demean the sort of like, because there is an awful thing where we just take retouching for granted now.
Sure.
That shouldn't be the way, if that makes sense. So, I admire her honesty rather than a bravery. That makes sense. Yeah. And she was, that was just a powerhouse performance. And just what she was like in the studio as well was like, there was one where we were trying to, where she had to cry, and she just composed herself for a moment and then just let it happen. And it was like, you are an actor. And astonishing.
Because it's such a hard thing to do, to work yourself up to that, I suppose. Like to make it look genuine. It's such a difficult thing. So, yeah, that's mad.
Have you done it?
Well, I haven't had to do it much. I've done it once or twice, but it took it wasn't an easy thing. It took a lot of... process, shall we say. But yeah, I admire the actors who can just, almost like click their fingers and it's like, okay, I'm crying now. But yeah, for me, and it takes a bit of process. But then some actors just use eye drops, don't they? They're like, oh, I ain't got the time, or I don't want to. So I'll pull a face and you put the drops on. I can't spare the moisture. But isn't it mad though, how like, as you say, today, everyone recognizes Billy for the talent she has and what, but 15, 16 years ago, casting Doctor Who, why have they cast a pop star? What on earth are you doing? And then she blew it's just, I mean, I'm happy for her. I'm so glad that everyone came around on that initial, I guess, assumption. Like, just because she was a pop star, that means she can't act. I mean, that's not true of any pop star until you see... Yeah, I'm sure we've all seen some pop stars who... singing might be their strongest point. I won't name any names. But, yeah, but then there are some actors. Like I saw, do you know Duncan James from Blue? I think it was.
Yeah.
He was in he was playing Frankenfurter in Rocky Horror Picture Show, and he was incredible. He gave a great performance. But again, I hate to say it, but because Blue, noughties boy band, you think, oh, one of Blue. That little assumption's like, oh well, he's not going to be very good, and he smashed it. He absolutely smashed it. So. Yeah, but it's the same thing, they've cast John Bishop, and I see people saying, oh, why have they gone for a comedian? And I'm like, Matt Lucas, Catherine Tate,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think there are so many, Doctor Who is still a premium brand for the BBC, and will be for a while, I think. So the idea that they can sort of like screw it up by just sort of going, we're going to do this now, no. There's a lot of people who have a lot of thought into this, and it's like, I think he's going to be brilliant. And you're right. When it came to Catherine Tate, I'm every now and again I'll sort of like get into a real bit of culture and be obsessed with it. And I never got a chance to sort of like do that with Catherine Tate's comedy show. So I kind of came into her completely sort of. That sounds wrong.
You were introduced.
I was introduced to Catherine. Raw? No, I was introduced to Catherine without any expectations, and when I watched her, honestly, she just became one of my favorite companions. And I think I've got a lot of hope for the series. I always will, and if it's. I think every single episode for me has always been a delight to a certain, you sort of go, oh, I love that bit. So I'm just so looking forward to what's going to happen. It's going to be amazing. I
know, because at the time of recording this, we do not know who the new Doctor or new showrunner are. It's still very much, you might know, but I don't know. It's not public. That's the word to use. It's not public information. But, it's an often asked question, but do you have anyone who you would like to see as the new Doctor and showrunner, or was there anyone that just like zings to your mind when the question's asked? Or
my partner, Paddy.
Hell yeah.
Not that. I mean, he'd be a great Doctor, actually. But no, we often talk about this because he works on the show as well. So
nice.
Clearly, that's what we spend a lot of time talking about. But also. He kind of sometimes is my boss and knows more stuff than I do. So there'll be bits of the house where he just closes the door on me, and I'm like,
you just come in like, hello, I'm home, and you just see the
he's
door.
He's like, secret meeting.
Oh, blind.
So he came up with a brilliant suggestion the other day, and I've been obsessed with it ever since. And that is get the Horrible Histories / Ghosts team to do it.
Yes.
Because they are a creative powerhouse. They are just their style of writing is incredible. Their level of emotion is great. They can, sort of like it's a full-on production band rather than just having one person that you've got to rely on. Get that. Do those. Get those people in charge of it. Just have a quorum of talented, wonderful people just sort of spearheading the show.
That'd be immense. That might be my new favorite.
I know, it's good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good. BBC higher ups, if you haven't made your decision and you happen to be listening to this, No, that'd be ace. But I'm sure whoever they pick, like you said with like the John Bishop casting, it's not just something they rush into. They take their time, they look at it. So I'm sure whoever they pick for both parts, they'll do a fantastic job, as all the others have down the years. Well, before we round off, there was another one of your Who projects I wanted to mention, which is some of the artwork you've done for the recent new series Steelbooks that have come out. And I don't know what it is, Lee. You seem to, the Series 1 Steelbook, you seem to be involved with products that then go for extraordinarily high prices on the second-hand market. God. So I don't know if...
How much is this one going for?
The last time I checked, Series 1 goes from anywhere from between 150 to 250 pounds. Let's put it this way. I have not, in like the years since it came out, so say allow a year from when it released, when it was 30 quid or whatever. Since then, I have not seen it anywhere, like secondhand sites, eBay, for less than triple figures.
Oh my God. I'm so sorry, people. I don't mean to do this.
Full disclaimer: Lee is not pushing up the price. He just happens to be involved.
I'm not just buying them all. I just in about 10 years' time, I can just release them on eBay.
But yes, again, that's I guess is summarizing a series into a front and back cover. Did you sort of approach those as you've done the Blu-ray collections for the classic show, or is it a completely different process for those?
That one was a little different because I did 3 or 4 different versions, which is something we don't normally have the luxury to do. So with that one, again, if you have a look on my Instagram, there's a sort of version with Rose and the Daleks and the Doctor on there, sort of very much parting of the ways focused.
Yeah.
That was sort of here's your sellable one. You put the Daleks on, they tend to sort of drive up sales just a little bit, and you're like, okay, all right, that's fine.
Sure.
So there was that, but also I think there was I can't remember what the other version was, but then this was the third version. Oh, it was just the Doctor on his own.
Okay.
Which again, I think he's on Instagram. So this one was very much sort of the focus of their relationship and trying to distill that moment of, do you want to come with me? And that's, let me just have a look at it. Let me refresh my...
Let's have a look at it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great cover.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
It's that hand.
Yes.
Just sort of do you want to come on an adventure? That's literally what I was trying to do. This is the first time that we get to do this. It's totally. It's inviting you in and sort of come with me kind of thing. So that's what they went with, and I really enjoyed doing that one.
Yeah.
That was a good Frankenstein job of various pictures.
It's a lovely bit of artwork, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, you also did the one for series 2 and the 50th anniversary one as well.
Yeah, the 50th one. I hated the series 2 one, and I don't know. I know, bear with me on this one.
Okay.
So,
I wasn't expecting that, but sure. Yeah.
With a lot of artwork and a lot of artists, and as an actor yourself, I imagine you probably hate listening to yourself and editing this.
Editing this podcast is absolute hell because I have to listen to myself talk.
So as an artist, every time that you do something, you look at it and you hate it, and it takes that moment of acceptance to sort of come around to it. And the reason why I keep going is I just want to get better and better and better and better.
Yeah.
So when it came to season 2, season 1 had come out and people seemed to like that. How do I go from there? Where do I go with it? And every time that I did it, whatever iteration I did, it just wasn't meeting my expectations, my personal expectations. And it was only in the last half a day of doing it that it just suddenly went like that, and it was okay, all right. So it's taken me a while to sort of get to love it, but I think I like it now. There's enough distance for me to sort of go, yes, I like it. And actually, it is the lock screen on my phone, not because I like it. It's to make me like it, if that makes sense.
You're forcing acceptance. I see. So,
yes. Whereas I think everybody else seems to like it as well, and I'll come to another point on that in a moment. But with the 50th, it was so nice because I did the Day of the Doctor artwork as well when it came out, and sort of getting a chance to revisit it. And we had a huge process of going through Day of the Doctor. It was about a 3 or 4 month sort of period of trying to get the artwork correct. And lots of people were involved. People came and went. It was very much a sort of a corporate thing, because not only was it just going to be part of the BBC's promotional push, but also it was going to be global. It was going to be in cinemas. It was going to be everywhere. It was going to be on mugs, t-shirts, whatever. I've seen it on bus passes. It's that kind of level of just grandness that a lot of people just want to get involved in and make sure it's right. So given the opportunity to go back and revisit it with the Steelbook and just let loose and do not necessarily what I would have done, but what I want to do now is brilliant, because you get that freedom of going, because prior to this, you have to have the pre-tease story. Who are these people? What's going on? Now you can just represent it and go, it's a big I'm swearing again.
No,
it's a big fucking space adventure with so many people and just colors and shapes and Daleks and more and the War Doctor and just how big this is. So yeah, just the idea that you can then put that on a cover is like amazing.
That is the best summary for Day of the Doctor I've ever heard.
So one thing you did ask earlier, and I'll sort of wrap up with that, and it ties in with the artwork, is I think you were sort of along the line of how do you feel about the fans responding to your artwork?
Yes, yeah.
One of the most heartening things, and this is about the design of the collection, is you see so many people creating their own versions of it.
Oh, and yes, it's a big thing, isn't it? Yeah,
it is. Yeah. And I absolutely love that, because it means I got the original template right, because Doctor Who fans are incredibly particular. We're all designers.
Yes.
And we're all sort of like involved in how we think it should look. And the idea that people are just sort of nailing this down and gone, I want to do my own version of this, means that we got it right. And that makes me happy. That's
lovely though, isn't it? Because you're right. I guess fans are always, as you say, particular about, because like with the classic DVDs, I can't remember which one it was, but you know, the first one that had the special edition like branding, and they put it on the spine, and I saw some people going, what are they doing? Like it's not uniform. I'm not saying that's a problem. You know, we all have our own tolerance level. I personally don't mind it, but I know we all have our own tolerance levels on that. But you're right. But then people went out of their way to make custom like DVD things to match it, and like you say, people are even saying, oh, like we know, I don't know, season just out the blue 25 isn't out yet, but here's what I think it'll look like. And like you say, they've used your template, so that must have been a big relief. You're like, oh, I got it right.
Yeah. And it kind of it's the thing that I don't want to take away is the idea that every time we get one coming out, there's less area for people to play in. You know, it's sort of like, so if 25 does come out, then please just carry on making your own version of 25. It's not sacrosanct. It's like, here's my alternative take. Just, you know, every release that comes out, just carry on doing it, because I love it, and you people are lovely at doing artwork.
That's a lovely sentiment. That's a lovely sentiment to round things off on. But before you go, Lee, there is one thing I have been doing with my guests who are into Doctor Who. Just a little thing I call the 3 1s. So I'm going to just ask you 3 questions regarding Doctor Who, and you just give me your honest answer to each of them. Doesn't matter what it is. So the first one is called The One I Love, which is, it doesn't necessarily have to be your favourite Who story of all time, but just one that it can be, but it's just one you have that real deep, you know, connection to, that love for, that one you can go back to and it feels like the first time you're watching it, sort of thing.
The one I love is War Machines. You can just stick me in front of that anytime and I will love you for it. The other one is Day of the Daleks, because it's just a riot. I'm sorry, that's 2.
No,
Remembrance of the Daleks. Oh my god, I'm just gonna Remembrance of the Daleks. Remembrance of the Daleks is the one I love. Just I quote it endlessly. Just the amount of time I put unlimited rice pudding, etc., at the bottom of shopping lists is ridiculous. Yeah. So Remembrance of the Daleks. Day of the Doctor. Oh my god.
They keep coming.
All of it!
I should have said, all of it. No, I love Remember. That was one of my first classic ones, and I loved it from the word go. It's so good. And at the time of recording, I'm very tempted, Big Finish at the minute, are doing a sale on the countermeasures stuff. And I'm very tempted. I'm like, well, I do like this team, but so I'm sure that's great. So the second one is called One and Done, which is basically, you know, we all have those Who stories. We talked a bit about it earlier, where you watch it and you go, okay, I'm not necessarily going to go out of my way to watch that again, unless I have to. Do you have a story like that? I mean, for me, it's probably Underworld. I've made no secret of that.
Yeah, I'm thinking there's little bits in that era, but also, do you know what? I'm going to get vilified for this,
go for it.
the Silurians, just Doctor Who and the Silurians.
Ooh,
I know.
interesting.
I know. It's just oh.
What is it for you? Do you feel it's too long, or?
It's one of those that sort of like it's got a reputation up here, and for me, it doesn't hit for me. You know, the beats don't hit for me. Yep. However, the monsters are incredible. Pertwee is amazing. Love lives short, and we got the Brigadier in there as well. So it's just it's all the right notes, but in the wrong order for me.
I hear you. And like you say, I think it's that fan thing, as we say, the general fandom puts, I say, oh, Genesis of the Daleks is the best story of all time. And you watch it and you go, oh, it's great. Yeah. Do I think it's the best of all time? Not necessarily, but yeah.
That is very long as well, isn't it?
6 whole. Thank God they put the what was it? The omnibus version on the Blu-ray set. That was a good idea.
That was the one we did at the BFI, and just like, oh, my bum was numb. Anyway, carry on.
Next one. It's all right. And the final one is a back to square one, which is basically, and you might have had this experience. So say you have a friend, loved one, whatever it is, who's never seen a single episode of Doctor Who before. They might have heard of it, but they've never seen it. What one story, in your opinion, would you set them off on? Could be classic, could be New Who, or one you just think, if you could only show them one story, which one would you show them to try and show off the program?
11th Hour.
Okay.
I think as an opener, as something that just sort of goes, Woman That Fell to Earth. Maybe, I think. Ooh. I don't know. Basically, okay. I'm looking at it in a kind of like moment of This is where we set up our stall. This is how we are going to be selling this show for a while, and I absolutely adore the balls to the wall loveliness of 11th Hour. Yeah. Where it's fantastical, it's action based, it's got all these things, and you just go, this is a movie. We love this. This is great. Just enjoy this kind of thing. Woman of Hell to Earth is bold and interesting, and you've got monsters and people being set up, and just the character of the Doctor is so ephemeral throughout it, and yet so integral. And so the moment where they're on the wall and just goes, "I'm just a traveller," it's just. All that is leading up to that moment, and you go, chef's kiss.
Chef's kiss.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful.
One of those two.
Wonderful selections, Lee. So some surprises, but it's all good. This is why I do it. I like to see it's so interesting what different people come out with for those answers. It's just great. But that is what I always say. One thing I say in a lot of my videos when I talk about the show or specific stories, I'll say, oh, well, you might not like the twin dilemma, but it's someone's favourite out there. But it's true. Every story could be somebody's favourite. That's just how it is.
I genuinely agree with that. There is Doctor Who is never a single story. Doctor Who is moments that people have pieced together and created their own version of a show that exists solely in their minds. And if you find an episode that sort of resonates with that later on and go, this is the greatest episode ever. If you don't, then you just go back to those episodes. It's great. I love this show. It is the best.
It is the best, and long may it go on. Well, Lee, we will start to round things off there. Thank you very much for coming on AMTV Radio.
My pleasure.
I've loved it. Before you go, any work you have or any social medias, please feel free to shout them out now.
Sure. I suppose my most Doctor Who stuff is probably my Instagram, which is just Lee Binding. My Twitter is mostly Doctor Who stuff, where I just go a bit weird, and I'm a bit of an insomniac, so you'll probably get some crazy Doctor Who memes stuff on there, where I just go, it's a great idea to do bumper stickers about Fendals, that kind of stuff. That's just.
I'll be waiting for PDFs of that on the season 15 set. Yeah, you pass that on to Russell if you're listening. Fendal bumper sticker PDFs, please.
So yeah, those are my main things. And yeah, please, anyone drop me a message, because I love just chatting to people. The internet is a good place.
It is, for the most part, but yes, it can be a good place. Oh, well, wonderful. Well, now I've got to remember my stuff. Always the hardest bit of the show. I never write it down. I really should. So, if you're watching on YouTube, hello. Thank you for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. We've got lots of content coming out. And if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Music, whatever, hello. And please follow, watch. They've all got different words for subscribe. It's very annoying. There's not one standard word. But whatever that button is, please click it if you want to hear more. New episodes coming every week. And all that's left to be said is, Lee, mate, thank you once again for coming on. It's been a blast.
It's been a pleasure. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. And for all you lot listening, I'll see you next time.